So, what happens when major world powers ditch the quiet, backroom deals and start hashing out their differences right in public on social media? Well, that's exactly what's going on between the US and Iran over one of the most important waterways on the entire planet. Let's dive in. We're talking about the Strait of Hormuz. And look, on a map, it's just this narrow little passage of water. But strategically, oh, this is not just any body of water. It's a hugely important and fiercely contested global choke point. And this number right here, this is why it matters so much. We're talking about 1/5 of the world's entire oil supply passing through this one single strait. Just think about that. Any problem here doesn't just stay here, it sends shockwaves across the whole global economy. And yep, that affects the price you end up paying at the pump. The stakes are about as high as they can get. Okay, so with the stakes that high, let's take a look at how this whole conflict is actually playing out. It's a very public and honestly, a fascinating war of words. Yeah, this isn't your traditional standoff with fleets staring each other down in silence. This one's being fought with official press releases and posts on platforms like X. It's turned into this high-stakes game of international chess, where every single statement is a calculated move, and it's all broadcast for the entire world to see. So, the first big point of disagreement comes down to a really basic, and you think a simple question. Is the Strait of Hormuz open for business or not? Well, the answer, it turns out, depends entirely on who you ask. First up, we have this statement from Iran's foreign minister. Seems pretty cut and dry, right? He's saying the strait is completely open for all commercial ships. Looks like a de-escalation. Case closed, you might think. Well, not so fast, because the United States is painting a totally different picture. Former President Donald Trump says the naval blockade is staying right where it is until a transaction with Iran is done. So just to be clear, you have two world powers saying the absolute polar opposite thing at the exact same time. And this is where the temperature goes way up. Iran's parliament speaker fires back, responding directly to the US with what is, let's be honest, an unmistakable threat. If the blockade continues, he says, the strait will not remain open. The lines have been drawn, and this war of words is now suddenly teetering on the brink of a very real conflict. So, the status of the strait is flashpoint number one. But this whole public argument is also exposing a massive gulf on another really critical issue, the fate of Iran's enriched uranium. And this just perfectly illustrates the huge divide. According to Donald Trump, the deal involves the US and Iran literally bringing in excavators to remove nuclear dust and then transferring it to US soil. But Iran's response is a flat-out denial. Their foreign ministry says enriched uranium is not going to be transferred anywhere and claims this was never, ever on the negotiating table. These two versions of reality simply cannot both be true. This accusation really underlines the incredible level of mistrust that's fueling this whole standoff. It's not just a disagreement over policy details. This paints a picture of negotiations where the two sides can't even agree on what was supposedly talked about. So we've seen the conflicting claims, we've seen the public threats, but let's step back from the what and get to the so what. Why does this one narrow strip of water hold so much power in the 21st century? Some experts have put forward this really powerful idea. For Iran, having control over the Strait of Hormuz is almost like having a nuclear deterrent. I mean, just pause on that for a second. That's an incredible comparison, suggesting its strategic importance is right up there with the ultimate weapon. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it's a chain reaction. Iran's economic leverage from controlling all that oil gives it huge geopolitical pressure. The simple threat of closing the strait creates immense risk for the entire global supply chain. And that, in turn, sparks very real security concerns, because even with Iran's promises, shipping companies are basically saying, we're going to need some clear security guarantees before we risk our vessels. The threat alone is the weapon. So all of this leaves us with a really crucial question. When leaders are negotiating like this, out in public, are they really even talking to each other? Or is the real audience their own people back home, or their allies, or the rest of us that they're trying to influence? It's a fascinating thing to think about when it comes to power and diplomacy in our hyper-connected world.